Welcome to The Trend. I'm Rebecca Granet. So many of us would give up so much to have just one last conversation or some type of closure with a loved one who has passed away. And my guest today is a clairvoyant medium who does just that, connect us with the afterlife. He is the star of the hit show on E! Hollywood Medium with Tyler Henry, and now he is celebrating today the release of his new book, Between Two Worlds. This is the cover of it. Tyler Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to have you here.
So happy to be here.
So, congratulations are in order. That's like the very first thing that we have to go to here.
Thank you.
This is your first book.
Oh, it's incredible. It's been 3 years in the making.
It has.
Yeah.
And so how does it feel today? I mean, the book is released today. How do you feel knowing that the world is going to read your words?
Oh, I'm so thankful. It feels so surreal. I mean, this has been a process that really I've just been going through. And in writing it for the past 3 years, it's really just been kind of processing and coming to terms with and understanding my life experiences and kind of what have gotten me here. So I think everyone who reads it will be able to kind of see an interesting look that they don't really typically get to see on the show. And that was really the goal in writing it as well.
That's true. On the show, we see a lot of you reading celebrities. And you do touch upon that in the book, but a lot of what we learn is about your life and who you are and how you came to find this gift. And what I think is interesting is that you are 20 years old and you are counseling people sometimes 3 times or older, your age, about death and how that whole process works and connecting people together. But even though you're 20, it kind of seems like you've been doing it for a long time because—
Well, thank you.
No, yeah, you're very good at it, but also, you started when you were 10, right? That was the beginning of this whole thing?
Absolutely. This all really started for me at the age of 10 when I had a premonition of my grandmother's passing. And I just woke up with a total knowingness that she was going to die. And I went into the other room to tell my mom that I felt we had to say goodbye. And before we got the chance to actually walk out the door, my mom's phone rang. And when she went to pick it up, it was my dad on the other line saying that my grandmother had just passed. So from there it really evolved, but I found myself reading kids in high school, reading teachers as I got older, and it just evolved.
And you describe yourself as a conduit for information to come through. And so can you maybe describe the process of what that is like? What are you seeing or feeling? And how do you control all of those feelings?
Right. Well, you know, for me, I always say my sixth sense kind of uses the other 5 senses to communicate. So it's not like the sixth sense. I don't see dead people walking around. I basically just have to kind of connect to my physical body and interpret what I'm hearing, seeing, and feeling. My ability kind of works through me. And that's the way that I describe it. So in a reading, I basically just kind of put together all of those sensations into a cohesive message, and I have to deliver it, and then hopefully it gets validated.
And when this happens, physically, how are you feeling?
It's really very dependent on the circumstance, but I find that usually when someone passes away, they'll convey how they passed away through giving me a physical sensation that corresponds with their cause of passing. And that can be really helpful for me to understand and to validate who's coming through and who's making a connection. So some individuals communicate information a lot more intensely, and then others less so. Just as in life we all have different communication styles, the same applies on the other side.
Do you ever worry about yourself with that? No, I mean in the sense that you are kind of allowing yourself to be the in-between.
Absolutely.
Does it take do you get tired? Is it physically tiring?
For sure. I mean, I never know what I'm walking into, so I never really know, when it comes to what I'm going to feel or experience, if it's going to be particularly draining or if it's going to be invigorating. But for me, it's just immensely gratifying to get to share this. And at the end of the day, no matter whether I'm physically overwhelmed or emotionally overwhelmed, I know that I made a difference. And for me, that's what I remind myself of, no matter how intense it gets.
And so you're a clairvoyant, you're a medium, and also medical intuitive.
Yes.
So that's a lot to take on in one person.
Sure.
When this sort of all came about and you started to learn about your gift, and I mean, nobody was there to say like, hey, here's the handbook, this is exactly how this goes.
Right.
When did you start accepting for yourself that, hey, this is real? Like, this is a real thing that I need to share with the world? Well,
there were so many coming out processes I found. There were times where, I had to kind of come to terms that I was seeing, hearing, and feeling things that most people weren't. And then I started finding that, as a medium, information started evolving. I would get information about loved ones who had passed, and then I would find when I would interact with people, those loved ones that would come through would actually relay health information about the person sitting in front of me. And that's how medical intuition came to be. In the same vein, I also had individuals come through who would acknowledge current life events that were going on in the lives of my clients and would often refer to future events that they had to kind of keep in mind or were coming along the bend. And I found that to be absolutely fascinating because I started off as a medium, but through that process of connecting, found that information both about health and the future would sometimes come through.
And so with health, you would sort of, like, what is that like? If you're sitting in front of somebody, you get a feeling physically, or you just know?
It can be very dependent on the person, but I usually find that I'll get a physical sensation that corresponds with the person's medical issue. So if someone has a susceptibility to something, I always think it's a good idea to tell them so that they can get that checked and prevent it. I don't think that the future's set in stone. I, as a psychic, don't work in absolutes when it comes to saying, the future is absolutely going to go this way. I always tell people that a reading is really just getting a sense of the trajectory of a person's future, and that's all. So that's just kind of the gist of how it works, and our loved ones can be helpful in giving us guidance about our present life and where we're going.
Of course. And so many of us, I think, look to you, which is somewhat of pressure, I think, to help connect with the people that they love. What can the average person do to stay open?
Well, I think we're all connected to our loved ones, and I say that, a medium is not even remotely as connected to those you love as you are. And a medium can help validate information, bring information through, but at the end of the day, it's the connection you have with that person that's profound and there. And people ask, how can I feel my loved one? How can I see them? How can I experience them? And because everyone communicates differently, it really is dependent on a person's openness and awareness. But dreams are a great way that individuals come through. Meditation is always good, and just quieting our mind. People ask about intuition and how to develop it. And it's not an additive process, it's a subtractive process. We're distracted with the things we plug into every single day. And if we're able to just kind of be more present, I think that we'd be surprised by the connections we'd make with those we love.
You went from Hanford, California, to Hollywood to do your show and read people. In the show, you read celebrities a lot.
Right.
Is there a difference between reading a celebrity and then reading someone who's not as famous, let's say?
It's interesting because there's lots of tiers of celebrity on the show from all different industries, and that just happens to be because I'm in Hollywood. But I find that in this process, what's been so great about it is, regardless of whether I'm sitting across from Kris Jenner or somebody back in my town in Hanford, fundamentally, they all want to know the same things. We as human beings all will experience loss, all will experience grief, and we all have those same questions. And that's really the beautiful part of the show, is that I think it kind of humanizes that. And through these readings, it's just been an incredible process to be a part of, because there is a vulnerability there, but there's a healing in that vulnerability, because it's important to be vulnerable, I think, for a lot of these people.
And when you go there, you insist that you don't know who they are, right?
Absolutely.
Is that the process
for sure?
you?
So in going into this and knowing I was filming a TV show, obviously, there's skeptics.
Yeah.
And my goal was to go into this as best I could without knowing anything about who I was reading or where I was going. When I go to a reading, we're driven basically by we follow a production vehicle, basically, when we're even going there. So we never even know the address of where we're headed. And that, for me, was really important for lots of reasons. In one sense, to appease the skeptics. But on another level, I didn't want to be biased with any preconceived notions or ideas about the person. If I knew that I was reading Kris Jenner, I might have some time to kind of stew on that and get nervous and worry. But when she opens the door, it's like, bam, okay, here, we have to go do it now. So, it kind of allows for me to not have to worry in advance. Or really just, it allows me to focus and be a direct conduit in that moment.
I want to talk about the afterlife for a second, if we can. So in this book, you talk a lot about, there's a lot of healing, there's messages of love and eternal love, which I thought was so great, in addition to learning about you and your story. And one of the central themes in the book that you say is, dying doesn't mean having to say goodbye.
Right.
What should we know about the afterlife?
I would say that the afterlife just reflects the interconnection that we all have. And I think fundamentally, we as human beings are so deeply interconnected, and death teaches us and shows us that interconnection that already exists. When we die, nothing's added necessarily. We just come to a realization of how connected we all are, not just with ourselves and our consciousness and our incarnation, but with everybody, with everything. And that's a very humbling process. And I think that as we go through this, we go through a process of letting go of our ego, the thing we hold on to for our whole lives. And we're able, as a result, to see how our actions affected others.
Egos? What?
I know, shocking.
What?
Me?
No.
Never. But no,
I'm too
it's
cool
true.
for that.
Exactly. But yeah, that, we believe that gets stripped as time goes on, and we develop an empathy of our consciousness that we might not have in life.
Absolutely. And you also talk about signs.
Right.
And I know you said that we as people should sort of quiet the noise.
Yes.
What are some signs? How can people read up on their signs? Or like, if they think that they're seeing something, if there's a number that's repeating, or if there's an animal that keeps showing up, is that something that should be validated? Should they know that maybe this is their loved one coming through?
I think our loved ones have many different ways of connecting to us, and the vast interconnection there is so complex. I have no idea even of how it all works, but I think that there are many different signs that people can take, and I think if we look into the idea of synchronicities, that everything is connected, and so therefore to notice patterns, I think that that's a great way to also see that maybe a message is being delivered, and I think that with our intuition, if we can get in tune with that, we can dictate what it means.
When you're in a reading, I mean, obviously you're touching on such sensitive topics. People usually break down and cry.
Right.
How do you handle that emotion? Because, I mean, you're drawing on the emotions of the people who are trying to come through.
Right.
And then at the same time, handling the emotions of the people you're reading.
Right.
So how do you handle that process?
It's actually the toughest part of the entire process, because in a reading, it really feels more like a technical process of mine, because I'm having to interpret what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, and then what I'm knowing. And then putting it all together in a cohesive mix to deliver a message while cameras are rolling, and then to get the validation and affect the person in a healing way. So there's a lot going on there as I'm going through this process. And so I've found that when a client is having an emotional reaction, I try to just allow them to have their moment, allow them to have that healing. And I sometimes have to kind of remind myself to pause and say, okay, stop. Just let them process it and then go back into it. But when I'm doing a reading, I oftentimes kind of forget the person's even sitting in front of me, because I'm so overwhelmed with what's coming through and trying to deliver it in an eloquent way.
In all the lessons that you've learned about the afterlife and life and everything,
Right.
Have you been able to shed some light on the question of why you've been tapped to do this job for so many?
That's the one question that I really don't have an answer for. I mean, truly, no. When it comes to
do you
knowing,
wonder sometimes?
I wonder every single day why I was chosen to be in this position. I mean, I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. I didn't talk about psychics, mediums, ghosts. That wasn't something we ever discussed. I just woke up and knew that my grandmother was going to die, and from there my life changed. And I don't know why. I'm just thankful to be able to have it and to do it and to share it. And I feel like maybe I was chosen because I meant to share it and because I'm doing that to the fullest extent.
And I think so many people are thankful because you can see what you do for them, which is really beautiful. And so with that, we will transition to our 10 for 10 challenge.
Oh my.
Are you ready?
I'm ready for this.
So you have 10 questions and 10 seconds to answer each.
Okay.
Do your best.
Am I seeing them coming?
I would like to know if you are seeing them
Probably
coming.
not, but we'll talk after.
If you are at any point, let me know. Okay. Is there a time of year when spirits are more active? We are right after Halloween, right? Like, do things get stirred up a little bit, or is it just all the same all the time?
I think people tend to start meddling in paranormal, everyone's a wannabe ghost hunter around Halloween, so that can sometimes stimulate some stuff. But I think as far as the other side goes, calendar certainly isn't the focus.
Okay. The most extravagant thing someone has done to try to get you to do a reading for them?
Oh my gosh. Well, thankfully, no one's came out of a parachute into a window or anything yet, but I have...
Don't do that. Don't do that.
That would be bad. But no, I've had people come up to me on the street before, definitely, and touch my arm and be like, read me. Because they think that when I hold onto an object, that's how I connect, and I do, but it doesn't really work when people grab the arm. So yeah.
When you're walking, just for a second, when you're walking around, if you're in a group of people,
right.
will there ever be a time where someone will just stick out to you and you'll say, I gotta talk to you because someone's coming through? For
sure. There are definitely times, especially earlier on, where I would get a pull towards a person, but I started finding and watching other mediums that I don't personally find that to be the best way, because I think that reading is a bit like therapy, and you wouldn't give therapy on aisle 9 of a supermarket. So why are we going to do that, in this sense?
Yeah.
So for me, seeing how intimate a reading can be and how much personal information comes out, something that I find is usually a time and a place. But for example, in a setting like this, if I were sitting here, I am kind of fending off certain impressions and feelings. I might have a younger man coming through, and I'll have an awareness of that to some extent, right here. But it would require me to kind of delve into it more to get additional details. But it's on your mom's side.
You're feeling? Me?
You have a young man on your mom's side of family. This is good to keep in mind. I don't know if this is going to make any sense.
No, you're
keep it in
totally
mind.
right.
No, is your uncle passed?
Oh my God, are you kidding me right now? Yes.
I want you to know, this is going to sound so strange. As I'm talking to you, I never do this.
Please,
this is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I want you to know that there's an acknowledgement of not being conscious right before passing. And I feel like I have to bring up the fact that I'm thankful that there's people around, and there's an awareness of being told you don't have to hold on. And this was an awareness, because this man is very stubborn and very strong and very insistent. And when he came through, he's acknowledging 4 people. And he brings up the fact that he feels like he was given this comfort and he was holding on. And the way this comes across is he had been waiting in the last 24 hours of life. For whatever reason, he's acknowledging this feeling. Symbolically, I see this as like a weight, which basically indicates that a person was physically holding on to pass. And that kind of seems to be coming through in the acknowledgement of this. But this would be a younger man, and this feels like a tragic age to pass away, but it's coming through closer to middle age and not elderly.
Tyler, you've got to be kidding me.
Does that make sense?
Wait, can we just pause for one second?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I just need to tell everyone that was so right on. Oh my God.
Oh, well, tell your mom that he's okay.
Tyler and I just met today. Like, I just need you all to know this. Like, we just met today.
Right.
He knows nothing other than that I literally love his book. I read it and it's amazing.
That's sweet.
That, I swear to you, that came out of nowhere just now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
Oh
an
my
example.
God.
So yeah, like that will sometimes happen.
May I ask one thing?
Absolutely.
Does he know what I'm doing right now?
I feel like the way this comes across is there's an acknowledgement of the past 5 years, okay? And he's having me acknowledge this feeling of like newness. And there's a feeling of like thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. But this man, when he's coming through, is acknowledging that he, when it comes to physical health, I feel like he was probably going through a lot more than he ever would have ever even verbalized for everybody else's sake. And when he comes through, there's an acknowledgement, not only of you, he's actually referring to 2 girls, which is good to keep in mind.
Stop it, come on.
There's you and then there's, but
my sister.
Yeah, and he's aware of both. But I want you to know that he's still with you as you've gone through this. And this is amazing, and you're going to be completely fine and on the right track. But he's aware of both you and sister. So please know that, okay?
Thank you so
and
much.
he knew that he was told that it was okay to pass. That was important for him because he was holding on. And it was just, there's a feeling of peace. So.
If you can, please let him know that I love him with all my heart.
Oh, you know, our loved ones are connected to us more than any medium ever could be, and he knows that. He knows when he's talked out loud to. He knows that he's prayed to before people go to sleep at night. I mean, there's all these things. So I think that, you know, your mom will benefit.
Yes, she will definitely benefit from that. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
That was random, but of course, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
That was huge. This was a recent passing, and he was middle-aged, and everything you said was so right on. There was a physical issue that he struggled through for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so, yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely, of course.
God, I don't even think we should. Okay, the 10 for 10. Like, all right, should we go back in? Do you want to? Or?
I'm good. No worries.
Okay.
It's whatever's good for you.
Whew. I don't even want to ask you this anymore because it's
okay.
so like it was so.
All good.
Okay.
I bet that's the first 10 for 10 we've ever concluded in such a way.
I kind of feel like we should just be done.
That's okay.
Okay. This is so silly now. The toughest chore to get used to doing while you're living alone at home.
Oh, okay. Well, I cannot wash dishes, like even remotely. So like I'm a hot mess. I cannot wash dishes.
Okay.
More importantly, I can't wash dishes. So.
Yeah, back to the important.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, no. I'm like my mother still does my laundry. In fact, she dressed me today, so I have no shame.
Oh my gosh. Well, go mom. She's killing it.
Thank you. I'll let her know.
I'm sorry, I really wasn't expecting any of it. Okay. If we went to a casino together, would you let me know like if I should really go for it or not? Like would I win?
I think you would win. I would let you know. We'll put it all in black.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll do it. Yeah,
okay.
next
Perfect.
time. We'll go to Vegas together.
Oh, that would be fabulous. I will come out. We're gonna take up on that offer. Something that you wish or that you want to know about your future.
Ooh. Well, just in general, where I would be. I mean, I know it's kind of like a big question, but you'd think being psychic, I would see my own future, but I'm oftentimes too biased to really get a strong feeling. So, I don't know. My career would be a good start.
I think you're doing just fine.
Thank you.
I'm like shaking. I can't believe you. You are incredible.
So
Your favorite hobby to do when you aren't doing readings?
I love hiking. I actually just moved to Malibu, so I love like going out, watching the ocean at night. Night hiking is the best. So just don't get axe murdered. It's a little dangerous.
Yes.
But you know, it's fun. It's good. I bring like a big like stick and a dog, so it's fine.
That is pretty perfect. Well, I was just gonna. Your next one was what is your biggest fear? So if that might be it, I don't know.
That would be it. Yep.
That'd be it. Okay.
Yep. That would be the one.
Besides for your phenomenal gift that is freaking me out right now because I'm like shaking still and I keep saying that, but it's like I need everyone to know how real that was. What are you most surprised to have learned about yourself on your journey to understanding yourself more?
I would say the most surprising part of myself that I've learned is, despite connecting to other people that have came through, like how fundamentally human and relatable I feel to the people that I'm reading. And by that I mean, oftentimes when I'm doing a reading, you'll see that the person's in an emotionally vulnerable state. But in reading this person, I often see themselves in myself to some extent, and I can kind of see their feelings. And it's been really interesting, and also writing the book, kind of processing, as I've seen other people go through their own grief process, kind of seeing my own and questioning, how do I process grief? Because clearly I know, there's an afterlife, but loss is loss. Physical loss is still a thing. So
Yeah.
it's taught me a lot about that through seeing others.
You're incredible. I can't. All right. Yeah. Your favorite and most moving reading that you've had?
Oh my goodness, every reading for me is so moving, but oh my gosh, that is a tough one. I would say, well, you'll have to tune in season 2 actually. 2017, Hollywood Medium comes back, and as far as filmed readings go, I did a reading with Bobby Brown, and I didn't recognize him when he opened the door.
Wow.
And it was a profound, profound reading because who you would have expected to come through, they did, but it was at the very end. Completely unrelated individuals came through in the very beginning that weren't public figures, and their messages were so specific that it made him a believer in that moment, so that when Bobby, Christina, and Whitney did come through, it was so validating for him because he knew there's no way that I could have known what I knew about these other people in his life who had died that weren't public figures.
Oh, wow. So that's incredible.
It was intense.
Yeah.
It was intense. So.
I can't imagine anything that you do is non-intense.
Oh my gosh,
but
every day.
Oh my God.
Yep.
The most important message about life that you've learned from the spirits in the afterlife?
I'd say forgiveness is probably the central theme that comes through. Everyone that ever comes through acknowledges the importance of letting things go, forgiving, showing compassion, and also being present. So that's a big thing too. Everybody comes through and says, I wish I wouldn't have worked as much. I wish I would have just been more present. I wish I would have said what I was feeling when I had the opportunity. And they also come through and often will say that they wish that they would have said what they were feeling in that moment and that they missed their opportunity. So say how you feel.
Yeah, so maybe a lesson for all of us.
Exactly.
Here now.
Yeah.
Tyler, Henry, you are so incredible. I keep using that word because
Thank
I'm just
you.
like, oh my God, blown away. I swear, anybody who even is remotely skeptical, like, take it from me. I'm telling you, that was 100% real. You are incredible. This book is incredible. Everyone go out and get it. Between Two Worlds. This is Tyler Henry's book. It's out today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being here. You're
Thank
such a sweetheart.
you.